partnerships at a company called DigitalOcean. A quick show of hands, how many of you have heard of the company called DigitalOcean earlier? Wow, not bad at all. Thank you. So what we'll do in the next 5 to 10 minutes is basically speak to our story and how we kind of, what we do in the industry today, and hopefully as entrepreneurs you will have certain lessons, key lessons to take away from our story. So DigitalOcean is a cloud infrastructure company. We are an infrastructure as a service provider. We are headquartered in New York, and we graduated out of Techstars. We were a Techstars accelerator program. So many of you in the audience might be thinking about accelerator programs, VC firms, incubators, all of that, and even we partner with NASSCOM. So the power of accelerator. So we graduated out of Techstars ourselves, and we've raised funds from Anderson Horowitz and a whole bunch of other VC firms like IA Ventures, Crunch Fund, and some of the others. As we all know, really the industry is changing. Earlier, people were hesitant about cloud infrastructure and whether we should get onto the cloud. Today, every business, and I don't think it's even a question in your minds when you think about starting your company, everyone's starting on the cloud. So all startups today are cloud first. No one's buying physical servers and having data centers, all of that jazz, right? So it's a huge market that we're addressing. And what I'm trying to get at is when a company or a startup decides to start up in an overcrowded market. So the cloud market, we had some of our earlier speakers, we had speakers from Google Cloud and IBM and some of the other players include AWS and some Microsoft Azure. So when a whole bunch of big companies, and these are giants, right? So when these are already existing in the market and a small startup goes out to say, I want to kind of play in this market, a lot of people are kind of detract you, right? Say, why are you even competing in this market? There is no way you're going to compete with some of these other big companies. So that was what we heard as well. And for us, we identified certain gaps in the industry, and those were what we were trying to solve for, right? Having told about the market that we're trying to address, this is what it today looks like. Today, as developers, as startups, when you go out to build your infrastructure, go out to deploy your applications, you have a plethora of software that's available to you. So the challenge that we identified is everything is getting more complicated. Some of the other cloud providers were offering hundreds of products, features, all of that. So everything was just getting more and more complicated. And that's where for us, the key differentiator was simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. How do we simplify cloud? How do we build the simplest cloud for startups and developers to get started? They don't need a lot of advanced software and managed services and host of other solutions. They require basic clouds to get your website on the cloud, to get your application on the cloud, and that's how DigitalOcean started. What we wanted to do was to build an infrastructure experience that development teams, and especially we were building from a developer mindset. While some of our other players in the market were building for enterprises and then trying to cater to startups, that was a sort of a force fit because the way developers think is extremely different. Developers don't like extremely complicated systems. They like beautiful user interfaces. They like the power to do whatever they want. They need root access, and then they want to be able to go and build it. And those were certain things that we were going to build for developers, helping them build better apps faster, just giving them the entire control over the system, but giving them a high-performing and reliable infrastructure underneath, predictable pricing, because well, the thing that we were constantly hearing from startups was that I don't know what I'm paying at the end of the month, right? So predictable pricing was the need of the hour, and that's what we came up with. We said, this is what you pay at the end of the month. It could be less, but it will not be beyond. So your budgeting, your pricing, everything becomes more and more sound, and then also secure and reliable, which is a no-brainer when it comes to infrastructure. So as we started with a one product. We just had one product in the market for the longest time, for 5 years, right? And we were competing with some of the biggest cloud providers in the world. But the interesting thing is, even with one product, if you build it well, people will come, people will buy it. So only with one product, we saw tremendous adoption. We had 1 million developers and startups on our platform. And last year, there is a agency called Netcraft, which kind of does surveys of the industry. They rated us as the second largest public cloud provider and the fastest growing cloud provider in the world. As we grew now, our customers are asking for more and more products and features, so we've added more what we call core complete cloud. And today we are offering more and more products called containers, because today applications are increasingly becoming more containerized so that it's easy to deploy in any infrastructure that people want. What I want as a key takeaway if you're a startup in the audience is you can start with one product, do it really well, and then as you go along, as your customers grow with you, add more products, add more features, get more advanced. But to begin with, just start with one that you can do really well and differentiate in the market. Right? These are some of the other things that we're introducing. As a company today, we've grown globally. We have data centers around the world. In India, we launched a data center in Bangalore. So for a lot of Indian startups that require data to be preserved within the country, some of those requirements are met. So, and some of our other closest data center would be Singapore. We have a bunch of data centers in Europe and the US. This is our customer profile. Again, I think it's really important to identify what your customer profile is, because especially when you're building something brand new in an already overcrowded market, it's easy to say, I want everybody, the whole market is mine. But then you really need to identify who are your customers. For us, what we identified was it was software developers that really wanted us, and it was software developers who really liked the products. They would recommend it to others. We started putting out a whole lot of great tutorials, content. They were recommending it to us. They were coming to the platform to learn new things, and a lot of organic content marketing happened for us because we were putting out a whole lot of tutorials that developers loved, and we were building from a developer mindset, and that's what really worked for us. And the other one was it just should solve some of their key business needs. And a majority of our customer profile would be technical co-founders or CTOs. That's who we typically kind of try to sell to. And also SaaS and PaaS companies. Those are new age companies that really are adopting. So really the key takeaway would be to identify your customer niche and building for them. This is the kind of growth that we've seen in the last 6 years that we've been around. Typically, we all talk about hockey stick growth and all of that. So almost being non-existent to really spinning up more than 80 million servers, virtual private servers on our platform. That's the growth that we've seen. I spoke about designing for developers and designing from a customer's mindset. What I want to talk about is, as companies, also what we're big on is giving back to the community. So the red dots that you see on the map, that's our meetup group. So we bring in developers to come together every weekend, and these are volunteer driven, a lot like some of the Art of Living key takeaways, right? So we have built communities around the world where passionate people out of their own goodwill come together to organize meetups, talk about the latest technologies, helping each other, learning from each other, startups coming together like this to share knowledge, to learn from each other. We also put out a whole lot of great tutorials, and that's something that's really worked for us. So a lot of good content marketing has happened organically for us. For people to get confused us with, oh, you're that learning company, because they see us putting out so much good content. They're like, you put out tutorials. That's not actually what we do, but you know, that's our way of showing love to our community. Here we run an event called Hacktoberfest. We are big on open source initiatives. We believe in open source and building software that is open source. We use a lot of open source software internally ourselves, and this initiative is where people put out their open source challenges, projects they're working on, and anyone anywhere in the world can contribute to that, help each other and build open source projects. So that's a really big initiative. And finally, Hatch is a startup program that we run where if there are up and coming startups to accelerators, incubators, we partner with these accelerators, incubators to provide cloud services for 1 year free of cost, as well as technology mentoring, consulting. Some of the startups require marketing help, marketing access to get to other regions, geographies. We're also building a global community of startups where one startup from here is talking to another startup in the US, talking about challenges. We want to expand there. How do we get it? So we're building this global community, and I would really urge you to kind of look up that startup program. It's another resource at hand. If you want to look it up, it's digitalocean.com/hatch. I think I have a slide on that, and basically this calls out some of the benefits of joining the program. I will really urge you to look into the website. And finally, these are some of our customers. Today, globally, we have renowned names like Docker, Tesla, WeWork, Slack, Zendesk, a lot of really new age companies using us. And also in India, we have the likes of Oyo, NoBroker, Delivery, Moblix kind of using us. And today, multi-cloud is a reality. Startups try to use multiple clouds for their environments and build what they require, right? So that's pretty much what I had to offer. Hopefully, if you're a startup that's really thinking about how do I differentiate myself in an already overcrowded market, because today, increasingly what we're seeing is there are no unique ideas. You come up with an idea and someone's already working on it, testing it, or already has launched it. But it's important to know that even if there are already companies in the space that you want to launch, if you really identify your customer profile, have a unique value proposition, then customers will come. And with that, hopefully this event is a lot of value to all of you. Thank you, and with that, over to you.